My name's Justin, and I have a problem. I buy way too many RPGs. If you look through some of my collection here, you might think I have 10 game groups. Unfortunately, that's not the case. I actually only get to play once or twice a month. Usually twice, but sometimes only once. So you might ask, what does a man with this many RPGs that only gets to play once a month think he needs to buy more game books for? Well, I appreciate you asking that. And I will tell you, while I may not get to play every one of these games, I have played several, and those that I haven't played, I've often found have some excellent mechanics worth stealing from my other games. So that's what I'm here to talk to you today about. Hey, I'm Justin for Books, Bricks, and Boards, and today I'm going to tell you about 5 mechanics from RPGs that you're probably not playing, but you should be stealing these mechanics for your current game. Whether it's D&D, Pathfinder, or any D20 based system, any of these mechanics would work great in your current game, and they're very easy to implement. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Taking it belongs to someone else.
You will be arrested.
But what if I want it more than the person who has it?
Still illegal.
That doesn't follow. No, I want it more.
The first mechanic you should be stealing comes from the Index Card RPG. This is the Master's Edition, but I believe that the older editions had this mechanic as well. So many times, just a simple skill check, or attribute check is going to work just fine for what you're wanting to accomplish in a game. However, sometimes it's nice to have a little bit more involvement in a task. And for combat, obviously we have hit points in many games, but what Runehammer suggests here is basically using hit points, or as he calls them, hearts, to determine success in an involved or sustained task. For example, you could use it for climbing a large wall or picking a complex lock, and you would just have to set a certain amount of damage that you would do to that task in order to determine when you have been successful. You would make your skill check just as normal, and if you were successful, you would do X amount of damage, either a set number or perhaps a D6, or if you had better tools, maybe a D8. But effort is a simple way to give more meaning to those non-combat tasks, and it also translates very well into most RPGs because players are already familiar with this concept from the way that it works with hit points. So effort is going to be one of the best things that you can steal and easily implement into any D20 RPG. The next mechanic that you need to be stealing for your game comes from the Black Hack, and that is the usage die. The usage die is a very simple but yet excellent way to handle any resource management in a game. I don't know how many times I have started off a campaign being a big stickler for encumbrance and measuring out usage of ammo and rations and water, and then by the end it's just too much of a pain to keep track of all of it, and my players don't enjoy it, and I'm not adding anything to the game by doing it. This splits the difference quite nicely. For a usage die, you could track ammo, you could track food, rations, you could even track resources like gold. So basically what you do is you set a certain usage die number, and then every time you utilize that resource, you roll that die. And on a roll of a 1 or a 2, the next time you have to use that resource, you roll a lower die. Whenever you roll a 1 or a 2 on a D4, game over, you no longer have any of that resource left until you replenish it. So, for example, if I had rations on a D6, and I rested and used my rations, I would roll a d6. I get to keep the d6 because I didn't roll a 1 or a 2. If I rolled again the next time and I got a 2, after that, I would have to switch to a d4 the next time I rest. Roll a 3, so I've still got some rations left. The next time I go, I roll a 4, still got some rations. There I rolled a 1. I am now out of rations. I can't eat until I replenish that resource. The usage die is that simple. It can be used for a poison timer. It can be used for food. It can be used for ammo. It is super simple, and it doesn't have the monotonous accounting that most resource management has in RPGs, but it still has the tension building that you want for that kind of a mechanic. And that is from the Black Hack. The next mechanic you need to steal is from the White Hack. This one I particularly love because I haven't seen many systems that do this well. This is called the auction. So this is valuable anytime that you have an attribute test between two parties where the skills just don't cover the situation. It could be a chase, it could be just a contest of strength, whatever the case may be. This is going to work better, of course, in a D20 based system with skills between 3 and 18, but it could be modified for most systems. So in the auction, what you do is roll a d6, you keep this hidden from your opponent, you add that to your stat that is in question. For example, if it's a test of strength, I would roll a d6. If I have a 14 strength, I add 4 to it, I have an 18 for this test. My opponent is going to do the same, and then we are going to bid. I am going to bid what I think I can roll above while still being below my modified strength score. In this case, I rolled a 4, added to my 14. I need to roll an 18 or lower, but still higher than my bid. So if I bid a 9, I have to get between a 10 and a 14 on a d20. If I am the highest bid, I get to roll first. If I roll between the targets that I need, I win that auction and I complete the task better than my opponent. If I fail, then if I only have one other opponent, they win that test. And that is the auction found in the White Hack. This is not a super complicated mechanic, but it is useful for quickly engaging the player in an otherwise kind of arbitrary test that the rules don't cover very well. Super simple, very effective. And the next mechanic that you need to steal for your D20 game is going to come from Dungeon Crawl Classics. Now, unlike the others, this one is going to require a little more of an investment because you're going to need some Zaki dice. This is called the dice chain. This is one of the things that Dungeon Crawl Classics introduced that is, in my opinion, revolutionary. So typically, a polyhedral set is going to have 7 dice, and it's going to top out at a d20, and it's going to go down to a d4. With the Zaki dice, you also have d30s, d24s, d16s, d14s, d12s. D12s are in the normal set, d7s, d5s, and d3s. So, the way that this works is if you want to give a bonus or penalty, you can simply move that roll up or down the dice chain, giving that random element while still granting a minor bonus or penalty. It feels very incremental in its implementation, and yet it still has a noticeable impact on the game. So one of my favorite uses for this outside of Dungeon Crawl Classics is if I have a weapon that is blunt, it hasn't been sharpened in a while, it normally does a d8. I may say, hey, you need to roll a d7 for that because it's a little rusty and it's not well taken care of. On the contrary, if I have a warrior that is using a big two-handed sword that's a d12, but this one happens to be a finely crafted elven blade, I might say, go ahead and roll a d14 for me on that damage roll because this is a very nicely made weapon. Now, in Dungeon Crawl Classics, they also use this for your action die, which is most commonly going to be used for skill checks and also for attacks, and often your D20 that you roll to attack or complete a skill is going to get knocked down to a D16 for whatever ails you. The Zoki dice or Zaki dice do cost a little bit more than a standard set, but they're not completely overwhelming as far as the price goes, and I do think they add a lot to your game, and they are certainly very easy to implement, and they will leave your players thinking, wow, that was not what I expected, and they will like this mechanic. For those of you regulars to my channel, you're going to know that I enjoy the Call of Cthulhu game. Been playing that with one of my groups pretty regularly. And the next mechanic and the final mechanic I'm going to go ahead and suggest that you steal for your games today is going to come from Call of Cthulhu. Now, in Call of Cthulhu, there is a mechanic called pushing your roll. This is going to allow a player to have a second chance to achieve a success. This is not allowed in combat. It's only for skills and non-combat maneuvers. But what happens is you say you failed your roll. However, if you want to risk something, you can attempt that roll one more time. For example, if they're trying to search for someone, maybe they get a little bit closer to what they're looking for, and they might give themselves away if they fail it on the second roll. Or if they are trying to pick a lock, maybe they fail the first time, but if they're willing to risk breaking their lock pick, they can try it one more time. There's always going to be a cost with the second failure, and it induces a social contract between the game master and the player, so they have some say and a little bit of negotiation in that cost. And what it does is introduces more of a pressure luck and almost a fail forward mechanic into the game, and it also gives the GM an excellent opportunity to introduce some wonderful twists that are going to add more flavor to the game and allow the players to get more immersed into the experience. This is going to be a great way to show your players that no doesn't always mean no. Sometimes no just means not now. And so that is the final of the 5 different mechanics that you need to be stealing for your D20 or D&D game. And this has been Justin from Books, Bricks, and Boards. If you enjoy the content, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, good gaming, and God bless. Not too long ago, I shared a negative experience I had with Noble Knight Games. So I wanted to also share a great company that I have had many wonderful experiences with, and that's the Hidden Layer. The Hidden Layer is found in Mount Zion, Illinois. It is a LGS for me, and it has an amazing selection of games, both RPGs and board games. Some stuff that is really hard to find, to be quite honest with you, even online. And so I was talking to their store manager today, and they actually have a sale going on through the end of the year. And that sale gives you 15% off their normal prices. So if you want to visit their website, I'm going to share that up here. And then if you want to enjoy that 15% off coupon code, I'm going to share that right now. And again, that is good through the end of the year. I don't get anything for this. It is just an endorsement because I've had great experiences with the Hidden Layers. The folks there are awesome. Never had a bad purchase there. They're very friendly and knowledgeable, and I've enjoyed all the time that I've spent there. So again, until next time, this has been Justin from Books, Bricks, and Boards. Good gaming, and God bless.